You're 17. The year is 1463. The castle rises before you like a mountain of stone and shadow, its towers cutting into a pale morning sky. The road beneath your feet is slick with frost, and the air smells faintly of wood smoke and horses. You've never seen anything this grand, not in all your years. The village you came from feels like a dream now. Muddy lanes, thatched roofs, the soft voice of your mother warning you to keep your head down when nobles rode past. Now, nobles surround you. You were chosen for your grace, they said. A servant girl with clear eyes and quiet hands. A lady of the court took notice, whispered your name to someone higher, and now you stand here, trembling in your only good dress, waiting to be inspected. When the gates open, you're swallowed by the noise. Boots striking stone, guards shouting orders, the clang of metal on metal. Inside, the air is warmer but heavy, filled with the scent of oil lamps and rushes trampled underfoot. The corridor walls are hung with faded tapestries, battles, saints, and beasts that seem to watch you as you pass. A chamberlain calls your name, his voice sharp. You bow as you were taught, your heart hammering. The hall beyond him glows with candlelight, and there, at its far end, sits the king. You had imagined what he might look like, every girl in your village did, but the man before you is older than you expected. His crown glints faintly in the firelight, and his expression is unreadable. The kind of face carved by power and time. When his gaze meets yours, you forget to breathe. He asks your name. You answer softly, your voice trembling, and the courtiers murmur, some smiling behind their hands. The king's steward nods, as if confirming a decision already made. You were told you will serve in the queen's household, but the way they say it, the way the king's eyes linger, makes something in you tighten with unease. That night, you sleep in a narrow chamber high above the kitchens. Through the small window, you can see the courtyard below, the torches still burning, guards pacing like shadows. You can't shake the feeling that something vast and unseen has shifted in your life, that the path you were meant to walk has vanished beneath your feet. You're 17, and though you do not know it yet, the crown has already chosen you, not for who you are, but for what you will become. You're 18. A full year has passed since you entered the castle, but it still doesn't feel like yours. You move through the stone halls like a shadow, quiet, careful, always watching. You've learned the rhythm of the palace, how the servants scatter when nobles pass, how the queen's ladies whisper behind their fans, and how silence can be both armor and weapon. Your duties are simple: polishing silver, tending to the queen's gowns, arranging flowers in her chambers. She is kind in a distant way. Her beauty is spoken of across the realm, but her eyes never quite meet yours. They look through you as if they sense the shifting air between you and the king, because he looks. Not always, not boldly, but enough that you feel it. During banquets, when you pour wine, in the chapel, when you kneel at the farthest pew, his gaze finds you like a spark finds dry grass. You pretend not to notice. Everyone pretends. But in the court, nothing is unseen. The whispers begin quietly, like the hum of bees. The chambermaids go silent when you enter. The steward, once kind, grows cold. Even the queen's gaze, polite as ever, holds a glint of warning. You sense the shift, though no one says a word. One evening, as the sun bleeds over the courtyard, a messenger summons you to the king's private study. Your hands shake as you walk the long corridor, your steps echoing in a place where only power speaks. The guards outside the door don't look at you. They simply open it. Inside, the air is warm with the scent of oil lamps and rushes trampled underfoot. The king sits at a table, a letter in his hand. He doesn't speak at first. He only studies you, the same way one studies a painting, searching for meaning in silence. When he finally speaks, his voice is softer than you imagined. He asks about your family, your home, your life before the palace. You answered truthfully, though your voice feels distant, as if it belongs to someone else. He smiles once, faintly, and dismisses you. That night, you lay awake, replaying every word, every glance. You know what this means. Every girl in court knows. A summons is never just a summons. Days later, he sends for you again. The queen's ladies notice. The courtiers murmur. And when your name is whispered now, it is never with kindness. You are still only 18, but your world has already narrowed to a dangerous point, a place between power and peril, where one misstep could cost you everything. And though you don't understand the cost, you will soon. Because in the castle, the king's favor is never a gift, it's a sentence waiting to be spoken. You're 21, and the palace has grown colder. The same corridors that once hummed with music now echo with silence. The courtiers pass you with stiff nods. The servants, who once flinched at your glance, no longer bow as deeply. You can feel it. The air has shifted. The king still calls for you, but not as often. And when he does, his words are shorter. His mind seems elsewhere. The queen has returned to courtly life, her smile sharp as a blade. Her ladies trail behind her like a tide of silk and venom. One afternoon, as you walk through the garden, you see her standing by the fountain. The water catches her reflection, still, poised, unbothered. She doesn't look at you, but you know she knows, and that is worse than any confrontation. Rumors begin to bloom like weeds. You hear your name whispered in corners, paired with laughter too cruel to be casual. She thought she was untouchable, one voice says. No one replaces a crown, says another. You try to disappear into silence, but silence has become dangerous. Every absence, every quiet step becomes proof of guilt in their eyes. Even the servants have learned to keep distance, fearful that kindness toward you might be noticed. At night, you sit near the window, watching the lights in the royal tower. You count the hours he spends there, wondering if he ever thinks of you now, or if you were just a distraction, a story he's already forgotten. The thought burns more than the cold. One morning, you're summoned to the council chamber. You dress carefully, your hands trembling as you fasten the cloak. When you enter, the air is thick with unspoken judgment. The king sits at the table, the queen beside him, her hands folded in perfect grace. She doesn't speak. She doesn't need to. A letter lies open before them. You don't know what it says, but you see the seal, the royal crest pressed into wax. The king's voice is calm as he dismisses you from service. He doesn't look at you as he says the words. You bow, because what else can you do? Outside, the guards wait. Not to drag you away, not yet, just to escort you out of the palace. You walk through the same gates you once entered trembling with awe, but now the awe's gone. The sound of your footsteps on the cobblestone feels like a farewell. You're not taken to the dungeons. You're not punished. That might have been easier. Instead, you're sent to a small estate at the edge of the kingdom, a place far enough that no one will speak your name again. The carriage ride is long. The landscape rolls by in shades of gray and gold, the fields fading into forest, then mist. You press your hand against the window, tracing the fog that blooms on the glass, and wonder how something that once felt eternal could vanish so completely. You are 25, and the kingdom has already forgotten you. But the past never stays buried, especially when your name was once whispered in a king's ear. You are 25, and the silence around you has weight. The estate is small, a forgotten corner of the kingdom, with crumbling walls and fields that grow wild. The servants here are few, their faces blank and obedient. They do not speak your name. Perhaps they don't even know it. To them, you are just the woman sent from the palace. Each morning you rise before dawn, not because anyone commands you to, but because sleep has become a stranger. You walk through the garden, what's left of it, dew clinging to your shoes, the air cold enough to sting. The sun breaks over the hills, and for a moment the world is gold again. Then it fades, like everything else. Your reflection in the water trough startles you sometimes. The girl who once stood behind the king's throne, radiant in velvet and jewels, is gone. In her place stands someone quieter, paler. You still carry the grace they taught you, how to bow, how to smile, but it feels like a costume now, the kind worn by someone who no longer exists. Letters arrive from the capital once in a while, news of wars, alliances, births. None of them mention your name. The king still lives, though his hair has turned to silver. They say the queen holds the court now, sharp, steady, untouchable. You try not to think of him, but the memories return on their own. The sound of his voice in the echoing hall, the way the candlelight once caught the edge of his ring. You remember the laughter, the promises, the gentle lies told in the quiet hours, and for a heartbeat you almost believe them again. But the illusion breaks quickly. You see the truth now, that love in palaces is not love at all. It's strategy, possession, a momentary distraction wrapped in gold. You spend your evenings by the fire, mending what little you own. The sound of thread pulling through fabric is steady, comforting. Sometimes you hum old songs, the ones the court musicians used to play, but your voice cracks halfway through. You stop before the memory hurts too much. Seasons pass, the servants change, the world forgets. You grow older in a house where time doesn't move. Your hair fades like the paint on the walls. The kingdom thrives, rises, falls, all without you. And yet, sometimes, when travelers pass by and catch a glimpse of you through the gate, they whisper to each other, "That was her, the king's mistress." The name still lingers, like smoke that never quite clears. You don't correct them. You never do. Because somewhere deep down, in the hollow where memory still lives, you know you will always belong to that story, whether you wish to or not. The world will remember the king. The poets will remember his triumphs. But you will be remembered only by a title, never a name. You are 25, and your story ends where his never did.